Good morning folks, and welcome to Armitage Leather. This is a long overdue review of Knip Knives. Now, I discovered Terry Nipshold having been speaking to another leather worker and came across his shark. Saw that, fell in love with it, found out who made it, and then got in touch with Terry, and conversations began. And following that, I think I ordered the shark and the rose head knife initially. The rosebud, Texas rosebud head knife from him. So they came through, opened the package up, and I was overwhelmed by the quality of them. They were absolutely fantastic. This prompted conversations with Terry, and I started looking at another order where I got the bevel cut knife, the draw knife, and the detail knife and the draw knife. And at which point then he asked me, what do I use to cut my straps with? And I explained, being left-handed, I'm out of my comfort zone with many of the right-handed strap cutters or draw gauges that are on the market. And at that point explained that I use the wooden strap cutter because it's ambidextrous. You can use it left or right-handed. I've tried the right-handed ones, I can use them, but I'm out of my comfort zone. And when you cut an expensive straps of leather 60 inches long, you want something that you can absolutely wholeheartedly rely on. So anyway, the next order came through and I was bowled over to find that Terry had included Weaver's left-handed draw gauge, and I was bowled over because I didn't even know they did a left-handed draw gauge, but he included his draw blade in there. And just to give you an example, I mean, this is 3.5mm unfinished veg tan shoulder, and we will just pop that on there. We'll get a grip of the back of the strap, and then you can just see how it just sails through, giving an absolute gorgeous and pristine strap. And that's nasty leather to cut. I mean, if we used a little bit of finished shoulder, this is Marcus gear, probably a little bit short, but you can just see that sails through there. That's absurd. That really is. You could probably cut thongs with this thing for whips if you wanted to. Look at that. Absolutely glorious cut and perfect every time. So that is absolutely overwhelming, and then that is just indicative of the quality of Terry's steel. So I'm going to pop that out of the way because that blade sticks up and it's a nightmare on the bench if you're not keeping it properly and turning it upside down. But going back to Terry's other knives, I mean, like I said, we've got the 4.5 inch Texas Rosebud, amazing. The Skyver, now this is a little different. It looks a little like a cake slice at the moment because this one's been bent, and this has been bent and made for me for a very specific purpose. And I'm not going to go into any detail here with this because I'm going to make another video that covers why we've made this knife this way, and that's coming. So I'm going to keep that as a surprise. I'm going to pop that out the way, but nonetheless, that is absolutely phenomenal. So we'll hide that the back of the bench and we'll concentrate on these knives here. So we have the shark, the Texas Rosebud, the draw knife, the detail knife, and the bevel knife, and they are absolutely phenomenal. And just to give you an idea, I mean, there's only so much that I can do to explain the quality of these knives, and really the best explanation that any knife can be given is the cut, and you can just cut with these knives all day long. Just, well, that's me being a little bit soft-handed with that one, but they just keep going. They've never been sharpened. I've had them for a good length of time now. All I ever do is put them on the strop and that's it. They speak volumes. The quality of craftsmanship that's gone into making them is phenomenal. They look fantastic, they look gorgeous. When people see them on the bench, they want to know where I've got them from, and I have to say every student that I've had has had a link to Terry's site, and I'd love to think that every student that I've had has gone away and bought a set of Knip Knives, because they just do the job so well. This is a lovely knife. This is a lovely knife for thin leather, because this is quite thick. This is actually a split. This is back of a shoulder. I mean, this is the difficulty with doing stuff halfway through the video or thinking of things. Now this is pigskin. This is soft. I use this for lining. So if I were to try and cut this off, and then this is going to be a nightmare. This is going to be a real nightmare. If I try and cut this with a draw knife, I'm just dragging it. So even if I started halfway in, you can see it puckering and moving as I cut. This is a really, really long blade, so I can put this very, very low to the bench and use it almost as a guillotine. And you see how that slides. And this is 1/2 mil thick pigskin. It's garment leather virtually. It's like cutting cloth. But you can actually cut leather this thin with a knife like that. This may do it. It'd struggle. It's a shorter knife. It's much closer. It does it. This is just indicative of how sharp that is. But if you go for the draw blade, the angle of the blade against the board is much, much higher. So there's less steel inside the leather, whereas this is much, much lower. So you can almost get every single millimetre of this steel onto the leather at the same time because of the angle of the cut, which means when you're cutting really fine leather, you will actually cut it. And I wouldn't necessarily cut this like this. It's just an example. But if you are using a thinner leather or a liner, the right knife for the job, this wouldn't do it. If you put that on, you find the tip of that blade is virtually at 90 degrees to the cut. It's hooked for a reason. So if we had 2 or 3 pieces of leather stuck together, and this could be a scabbard, this could be a pair of shoes, something where we can't necessarily lay it down and cut against it, we can use our detailed knife to trim the bit in the middle, get rid of that, there's a nice straight cut, and we're sorted. That's the sort of job that you would do with that knife. Fantastic for low, thin leather, cuts a dream, cuts perfectly straight. Awesome for trimming, which is what it is. It is in essence a trim knife. 2 draw cuts, one with quite an angle, one with a shallow angle. I've got to say the Shark is the go-to for me, absolute go-to, but they're both, again, cut very, very well. I feel I can get more strength with this knife because my fingers are all the way around it, whereas this one I'm on fingertips because I can't get my knuckles under it. However, because it's so sharp, I don't need to. You don't need to grip these knives like Billio to force it through. And then we've got the head knife. Again, all day long, all day long. The nice thing about the head knife over the draw knife, if we were cutting a piece of leather, so here's an example, we want a straight line. If we've got a straight line, we're putting our knife over the line. So I'll actually do that so you can see it. Let me get a ruler, let me get a scratch saw, and let me use a little bit more board. So if we put a mark down our leather, and then we put our draw knife over the top, we're actually hiding the line with the knife. So we've got to lean to the side and we're coming out of a comfortable position. Yes, you can do it, you get nice and close look under the knife, but certainly if you go for the very, very low cut, I'm hiding the line. That becomes difficult. Whereas with the head knife, and if we put the line so it actually comes off the leather so I can see it, that's me getting into the habit of starting short and stopping short, is we can then see the knife hit the line, and we can see the line throughout the cut. Get your fingers behind, don't put your fingers up front, because if this runs off you've lost a finger, and if you're on your own you can't drive yourself to the hospital. But then we just follow that line with the head knife. All the way through. Oh, there we are, failure. How's that for a straight cut? Let's just put that ruler back against it. Freehand with a head knife, absolutely gorgeous, and you can cut curves. You can do all sorts of things with a head knife that you didn't think you could possibly do. I'm going to give myself a fairly rigid curve to go around, get rid of the steel because I don't want to run over that with the knife. Follow it round to here, and you've got the opportunity of just following the curve with the knife, or you can roll the knife around the curve. But it's surprising how much detail you can actually get with such a big knife. This is where the fur at the back of the board is catching. There we go. We can do quite a nice curve. That was 3 inches. So that's a 3-inch curve. In fact, 3.5 inches. We've gone round with a 4.5-inch blade. That's not too shabby, is it? And if you're doing big patterns and a far greater radius, it's going to be much, much easier. In addition to that, I'm selling these knives, aren't I? We can use the head knife as a skiver. That just runs down there really, really nicely. And you can get quite a long run. It doesn't have to be severe. You can get the head knife very, very shallow and then run it down for a good distance. We've got well over 1 inch there. And that will taper in, especially if that's a welt for a scabbard. We've now got 1 inch taper, so when we put the front piece and the back piece together, that tapers in really nicely, so we don't have a huge jump. We're going from one level to another really quickly. We've tapered it over 1 inch. And I dare say if I took my time and tried even harder, I could probably get that lasting a lot longer. But that's just indicative of the quality of these knives, of this steel. I mean, you know, freehand, this is a piece of split, it's the back piece, so it's flesh. This just slides through, and this is harsh leather. 4.5mm thick English bridle. It is not struggling at all. Look at it. Same for all of these knives. I'm running out of leather. That speaks for itself. Sharp, straight through. 4.5mm English bridle. Draw knife, straight through. This may struggle, it's a little thicker. Yeah, the reason being is if we look at the spine of these two knives, and if we look at the grind, this grind is quite severe. So the quicker you go in with this, the fatter it gets. It's better for thinner leather. So I'm going through 4.5mm, so it's having difficulty cutting and separating. Whereas this grind is very flat, so as it goes in, it penetrates the leather much easier and smoother. This is absolutely incredible for thin leather. That's where, see, this is still too thick. Here we are. 1 millimetre thick shoulder. That then comes into its own, but you can really get your eye behind the knife and keep that cut really, really straight. This long straight cut, perfect for thin leather. Struggles a little bit on the 4.5mm bridle. Shorter blade, more of a severe angle, but much, much better on the thicker leather. Good all round, all-purpose knife. Draw knife again, good all round, all-purpose. These two for the draw cut certainly. Detail knife for trimming and bringing it towards you, and fantastic for thinner leather where you want a good cut, but you don't want to go back over a thin piece of leather a second time. You'll end up with feathers and that'll spoil the item. But certainly I've found for cutting the pigskin, deerskin lining, that is incredible. It really, really is. I'm just trying to find a little bit of something else to give you an example of what I use it for. Here's a bit of buffalo, and this buffalo is 0.8mm thick. We'll get rid of all the tat that we've created, and just popping that on there, I can get such a beautiful consistent cut using that knife over that leather, and it doesn't drag. That's the most important thing, because the length of the blade is so low to the board, it keeps the leather in place when I hang on to it. This board is getting ropey, it needs sanding down, and the knife is pushing the fibres into the board as opposed to cutting it. So let's just go, there we are, up here is a bit of board I don't use. Much smoother, much flatter, better cut. Knip Knives. I'll put the link up down below again. Go along, have a look. Now I'm just going to load up the website. You can do the same yourself, right? But to give you an idea, this is the pull cut knife, a draw knife. You draw the knife towards you, you pull the knife towards you, cut, pull, cut, hence the name. $85, absolutely phenomenal. Right, the Texas Rosebud, $235. That sounds like a lot of money, but I'll tell you, it's a lot of knife. I do believe that the bevel point knife is also $85, as is, let me confirm before I say it, the detail knife, $85, and I'm led to believe that in addition, so is the shark. So all of these $85, $235, and I think the skiver, and the skiver that you would get from the website is different to this one, but it's $150. These are my go-to knives. I've got other knives, I've sold other knives that I'm never going to use again, having been spoiled by these, and there are loads more on Terry's site, and it's my quest to have them all. In fact, while we're there, what I haven't included is the draw gauge, $40 for the draw gauge blade, and you've seen how well that cut, that just trims phenomenal. The quality of that is superb, it really is. I'm running out of leather to trim, but suffice it to say that irrelevant of the draw gauge that you've got, whether you've got a Weaver, an Osborne, a Dixon, a Gomph, you can put your blade, if it's this style of draw gauge, into this and it will cut an absolute dream, because the most important part of this tool is the blade, and you saw how easily and how well and how consistently straight that cut. Yeah, this video is a review of Terry's knives. It's very difficult to make this review without it being just a simple rave about how awesome his knives are. So yeah, no shame. I'm making no apology. This isn't a review. This is an unabashed rave about the quality of Knip Knives. The quality of these knives are phenomenal. The vast majority of people I pitch to are on a budget. I understand that, and most people start off with a craft knife, a Stanley knife, whatever there is available. They'll go out to the shed and they'll find a toolbox, and in the toolbox is a knife. And that's the knife they'll start with, and that's the knife they'll continue with for some time. There's nothing wrong with that. But as you increase the quality of your tools, as you're after increasing the quality of your leatherwork and the consistency of your cuts, you want to increase the quality of the steel that you're using to make those cuts, and you have to have a better quality knife. A prime example, if you're beginning to slick and burnish your edges and you want the highest quality edge that you can get, then you need the best quality cut. If you've got a scrappy bit of leather, and then you use, I'm trying to find a blunt knife. Now I use this to open parcels with. So you can hear that's just simply not cutting. We'll use a ruler because it's all over the place. So 1, 2, and you see the ruler there moved because it 3, 4. Okay, so we've gone through in 4. We can deal with that, we can sand this, but ultimately this is not the smoothest possible edge that we can have. If you up the quality of your knife, and we pop that down there, and there's our cut in one hit, then the quality of the cut that we have is exceptionally flat. I run my finger down there, that's smooth. So that's then going to burnish and polish up even better. You're not having to sand it, you're not having to add a preparation stage to that you don't need to. That is flat, smooth, and you are going to get the best quality edge from the best quality knife. If you're being precious about polishing the edge of your leather for presentation and finishing, then a good quality knife is what you need, and you won't get much better than Knip Knives. There are many awesome knife makers out there, there really are, but I've got to say, for the time being, my absolute favourite. I plug these unabashedly to all of my students. I'm plugging these to you. Yes, this is a rave about the quality of these knives. I love them. They do the job so well, and they have made my life easy. I thought my knives were sharp. I was cracking on, but it just put them to shame. It really did. You don't touch the leather with these knives, you just show the leather and it falls apart perfectly. Folks, go along to Terry, go and have a look at what he's selling, make your own mind up, speak to other people. You may have other knives, you may have other thoughts and feelings. These are my thoughts and feelings, this is what I think. Like I say, yes, Terry's been wonderful, and he sent me the beveler, but that's for a purpose, and he made a gift of the strap cutter. All of these knives here I bought, I paid for, and I would pay for these again, and I will buy and pay for more. I'm not selling his knives for him, he's not giving his knives to me for free, I'm buying them, and I would recommend you do the same. They are worth it. $85, even if you just bought one knife for $85, that's not a huge amount of money. For the benefit that you would get from it and the quality of the cut and what that then in turn would do to your leather work, that's cheap. It really is. Don't have to worry about the rest, don't have to worry about the head knife. If you had to go out and buy one knife, that one or that one, I would suggest the Shark. If I was going to buy one knife, if I had to choose one over all of these, it would be the Shark. I love this, I just love the size of it, it's just so dinky and lovely. If it wasn't, it'd be that one. Find out for yourself, make your own mind up. Speak to other people that own them. Go onto Facebook, ask questions. What do you think of Knip Knives? I love them, I really do. And the nice thing is, tools like this are becoming, they were for a while becoming scarce, but now with the introduction of Jeremiah Watt, of Leatherworker, of Terry Nipshold, people are bringing beauty back into the craft, and look how beautiful these are, absolutely gorgeous. Not only are they really good quality, not only do they do the job really well, they're so pretty. How can you argue with that? They are gorgeous. I love leaving them on the board for students coming in and seeing them, and they just get the wow factor from this wonderful Coca-Cola handle with brass furniture and high quality steel. Can't be argued with. Folks, I've waffled on enough, I've taken up more than enough time, but I am really excited by these. Every time I pick them up, they're a treasure to use. And if I can give you one bit of advice in this game, get a decent knife. A decent knife will make your life easy. These will make your life easy. Promise you. Take care, have a good day, and enjoy.